Hi, YouTube. It's Angela. We are here to do our weekly energy update here using various oracle decks and the Zen Tarot deck. Let's just get right into it. The first card that I pulled here is the Mountain. This is asking you to look at the big picture. Don't be dwelling on, too many details. Your rational mind might be in overdrive with all the details and the things to dwell on. We need to remove from that a little bit every now and then and see the bigger picture. What is it that I've achieved so far, right? See that big picture, and see how the figure is nestled right into the vibration of that mountain. It's almost like I'm not going to, dwell on every little blade of grass anymore. I'm going to become the mountain energy. What are you reaching for? What is it that you're reaching for in general here? This is, reminding us that when we have a goal set, it's not always practical to, it feels practical to make, an itemized list and catch every detail and make sure that, we have a plan from A to B or point A to Z. But along the way, we have to remain open to the bigger picture, because we're also going to receive signs and ideas and different ways of doing things from the universe along our way. And if we are holding to every little detail remaining as it should, as we've planned, then we're losing the sight of that big picture, of that bigger goal. So what are you reaching for in general? And then how do we go about getting there, right? It's a matter of letting go of the control that we have, the perception or the illusion of control that we have over most of the things that occur in our lives, right? That usually will lead to sorrow, mainly because if we're sitting here trying to control every single step, right, toward our goal, toward whatever this is we want to achieve, and we're micro-focused on those little steps, that's first of all being controlling. And that will usually, sometimes things go as plotted and planned, but sometimes they don't. And when you start to feel that resistance, and the fact that things aren't turning out the way you imagined, or the steps aren't being taken in the way you imagined, it's time for a bigger picture, sort of a release from those details. Clinging to this, it has to be this way, every single detail needs to go into place. That's what I mean, will lead oftentimes to sorrow or, regret, or some heavier, denser feeling that keeps us even further from our goal. The next card I pulled is Meandering Pathway. And this is that same vibe. Like, we expect to set a goal and have a straight road to it, right? That's kind of, as humans, we kind of think we have control over that or power over that. But then twists and turns come, and pauses and stop and go and curves and jumps and all these other things come along the path. And this is just reminding us that all those little twists and turns are supposed to be there. They're there for us to either, take one, this little obstacle that came up doesn't feel so good, I think I'm going to bypass it. Or, oh, this thing came up and it reminds me, maybe I want to go about it this way, right? So keep yourself aware. And like I said, always with the big picture in mind, move yourself toward that with a more meandering pathway, right? You don't need to have all the answers right now in order to succeed. You don't have to, know the future or know what's going to happen next week in order to have a great future, right? It's a matter of this moment now. What direction am I heading from now? With that meandering pathway, I pulled moment to moment, which is reminding us we will know when it's time to move and take the next step, right? This figure has his eyes closed as he walks along that river. And each time a stone appears for support and for direction, he decides, this is the time to step into this next moment, right? Every single moment is valid as it pertains to the path, the direction that you're heading. And then I pulled ordinariness. This is that relaxing into this moment. Go ahead and let things unfold the way they're supposed to. Go ahead and stop and smell those flowers, or pick a bunch of them for your house, or sit underneath that tree and capture the shade, or feel the breeze, climb the tree and feel the breeze from up above. This is your sort of absorbing every moment as you move toward that goal, right? With that bigger picture, you're at the peak of the mountain, you have that vantage point, and you can continue, the general direction toward those things you want to achieve. And then I pulled the ancients, and this represents, the collective, all the beings that lived before you, the plant life, the animals, the humans that lived before you, that are there in support of you. Their energy is always there, to guide you. If you're listening, if you're remaining open, right? This is your help from a higher power kind of a vibration that, we forget sometimes, right? And also sometimes we throw ourselves at the mercy of a higher power. Like, please, help me find my way out of this. When, if you're living this sort of moment to moment vibration and moving along the pathway with the flow that it's being presented to you, then this vibration of support from the collective kind of naturally, becomes part of your path, because the more you are in acceptance of, this very moment, and here's where I'm headed next, and now I'm in this very moment, and then here's where I'm headed next, the more you're in that sort of, I wouldn't say slower pace, but more present moment awareness sort of a pace, because sometimes this stuff can happen rapidly. But the more you are in acceptance of that which is, right, then you realize there's support. I am adapting in every twist and turn along my path. I am adapting. And that is with the help from those that have come before you, with the help from the collective. With that, I pulled consciousness. This is your higher self, being employed into your journey, and making sure this is another sort of mountain view, right? A higher perspective. I see that things feel difficult right now, and I know from experience and from the trust that I have in the universe that those things will work themselves out, and I will find my new direction, with that present moment awareness on board. And then I pulled We Are the World, and this, it just is that. It is the ancients. It is that vibration of the collective. So that's a sort of a double whammy on that card, kind of reminding you, you're never alone, right? Even though physically in your body, sometimes you feel alone or separated from where you want to be, but you are never alone in that. If you look at the imagery here, how that heart in the center of that figure is pretty prominent, and there's humans and plant life and animals and birds, all there in support of that heart space, of that energy. And then the last set that I pulled here, I pulled the hot air balloon. This is interesting. So this is when these sort of details and conflicting information, or the minutia becomes too much of your focus, and it's clouding your peak view here, your vantage point of the bigger picture, because there's just so much of the smaller stuff happening. This is a beautiful practice to imagine all those little worries, right? One by one, name them, and then set them inside the basket of the hot air balloon. Name it, place it, name it, and place it. And then once this basket is filled with all your issues and all your worries and problems, imagine it taking off into the universe and rising away from your current situation, so that it sort of lightens that load. It creates a space for you to create in. It's a great visual practice to have. You can do this, apart from the spread here. This is a really good practice anyway, to send those things on their way, right? But not to ignore them, not to cling to them, but I need to worry about this or it's never going to turn out right. It's allowing for you to recognize it. Oh, I have this worry. This may end up being, if I hang on to this worry, this will end up being a burden, right? What you resist persists, right? We hear that. What you fight, you feed. So keeping it with you, these worries and burdens, keeping them with you will weigh you down. And so this is a great practice to send them off into their own space, right? So that the collective actually can receive them and manage them for you. I pulled with that receptivity. So this is that practice of sending your worries off in that hot air balloon is creating an open channel. It's opening up your channels to receive from the collective, to receive messages and ideas and support and ideas for new ways of doing things. It creates a channel by sending those burdens away. You're more open, you have a more you're more receptive, and then the change can come and start moving through you. And then the final card there I pulled is inner voice. Always with following your intuition is, it won't lead you wrong. Even if it feels like I followed my intuition and then this challenge happened, it wasn't a mistake. The challenge was put there for your growth, right? We have to keep coming back to that sort of trusting that those things that are presented to us in our lives that feel challenging are there for us to learn from. When do we ever learn unless we're challenged, right? Like if something is unknown to you, it's not just going to, magically become known. You have to do the work, right? You have to go through it. I love this card too, how it's very third eye oriented, the figure in the middle. First of all, balanced by the dolphins here, who are known for their high intelligence and intuition. And then this figure with the figure in the third eye there. And then that's sort of representing your intuition. It has a wide open receptacle through the crown. It reminds me the same of this energy, receiving that energy from the universe, from the support that's there, that maybe we haven't recognized or acknowledged to this point. So all of this begins with that mountain view, with that becoming the mountain, not just I need to climb that mountain, but becoming it and rising to the peak and being able to have this vantage point to see all your possibilities and not to get too down there on the base of the mountain and dwell too much on the details, right? We need to process details. We need details in order to execute our plan, but they don't always have to remain exactly as they were when we set out, right? We don't have to hang on to, oh, but I had an idea, this is how it would go. We don't have to cling to that. It's the point of it is to remain open, right? As your path takes these twists and turns. Okay, now I'm going to pull just a few little bonus cards so that we can get an extra message from universe. Woo! Oh boy, they're all falling out. So let me just go with this. Nothing yet is set in stone, right? It never is at any moment. The change is constant. The waves of change are always upon us. And it's up to us to decide which wave to take, right? Which one to ride to shore on, or, which one to act as a buoy and let them float over us and pass us by, because we're not going to embark on that right now, right? But none of it is ever set in stone. Even if we have a goal and we keep our sights on it, it doesn't mean it's going to turn out exactly how we pictured it, right? If we incorporate the moving and shifting energies that are always around us, we could end up in a better place, or we could end up having a whole bunch of fun on the way getting there if we really incorporate the willingness to move with the change, and also that present moment awareness to have the clarity to see when these opportunities come along to shift our path. And then from there, I pulled these cards to go with it. I pulled trust. So nothing is set in stone, but trust the outcome. Trust that the path that I'm on is meant for me. And then I pulled the Fool, which is basically the beginning of the path you're on. This is a reminder that every single day you can wake up and be the Fool. Every single day you can wake up and say, okay, I have a clean slate. I have a fresh start. Where am I heading now? You can do that every day. You can do that, even, after a challenge that becomes burdensome and weighs you down, and then you find a way to move on from it. That's your Fool card too. That's your fresh start from the, post release of some of these challenges. So I love that. Of course, this is just a reminder that we can always start again every single day. And hopefully we're starting with the vantage point, that sort of higher perception that, allows, or higher consciousness on board too, to allow for all the possibilities that are coming. So if you're feeling particularly challenged, this is a good spread to kind of bring us back to a center point, let go of those, details that end up being a burden. We don't have to push through on this small stuff. We can just push through toward the big goal and let the small stuff kind of find their way to move us along without us having to control it. Okay. Yeah. It's important. It's important that we learn some of this, acceptance kind of energy as to what is, so that we can work with what is. All right. Okay, that's it for now. I'll see you guys soon.